I think life is a learning process, and you read books, you read stories, you empathize with people. I had always empathized with people who have it tough in life, and the world is full of people who don't get enough to eat.
The more he gave, the more he enjoyed it. It was quite amazing. He explained to me that if we revealed who was providing the funding, it would cease.
The thing about Chuck Feeney is that he likes the underdog.
A man walks into hospital for what seems like just another checkup. The security guard, unaware of his identity, asks for his ID. Calmly, he hands it over, and moments later, he's welcomed by the doctors. But this was not a typical visit. There's no talk of symptoms, no concerns about health, because this wasn't just any patient, it was Chuck Feeney, the secret billionaire who actually owns the building he just walked into. How can a man be a billionaire, own entire companies, and still walk into a building he owns unnoticed? Why did he choose to stay invisible while building an empire worth billions? This is the story of Chuck Feeney, the generous man who gave away his entire fortune to charity before he passed away. In 1988, Forbes magazine named Chuck Feeney as the 23rd richest American, yet few knew who he was. Born on April 23, 1931, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, he grew up in a simple family. His mother was a dedicated hospital nurse, while his father worked as an insurance underwriter. They both deeply valued hard work and community, and Chuck definitely inherited it from them. After serving in the U.S. Air Force, he attended Cornell University, where he earned a degree in business. It was during this time that he began to cultivate a vision that would later redefine philanthropy. In 1960, Feeney co-founded Duty Free Shoppers Group, which capitalized on the burgeoning travel industry by selling luxury goods to international travelers. His keen business sense quickly moved him to immense wealth, and by the late 1980s, he was worth billions. However, unlike many of his contemporaries, Feeney viewed his fortune not as a trophy to be displayed, but as a tool for change. He began to see wealth through a different lens, a lens that emphasized responsibility over accumulation. While many wealthy people focus on amassing more riches, Feeney questioned the morality of it all. He felt a deep sense of obligation to use his wealth to address pressing societal issues. This desire culminated in a radical decision: to give away his fortune entirely.
I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do with their money. If you make your money, you do what you want with it. But I'm just convinced that the satisfaction one can achieve from helping people has a level of satisfaction that you can't get otherwise.
In 1982, Feeney established Atlantic Philanthropies, a foundation dedicated to social causes. His philanthropic focus was broad, containing education, healthcare, and human rights across the globe. He funded initiatives that transformed lives, from supporting universities in Ireland to investing in health projects in developing countries. Feeney believed that meaningful change could be achieved through strategic giving, and he was determined to make an impact.
He not only enjoyed the experience and the people, but tremendously enjoyed the friendships.
But what made Feeney different from other billionaires wasn't just how much money he was willing to give away, it was also the way he did it. Feeney's philosophy was simple: giving while living. He felt that wealthy individuals should donate their fortunes during their lifetimes, rather than leaving behind a legacy of riches that could take years to distribute. To him, the best way to create a lasting impact was to act decisively and immediately. Connor O'Cleary, who wrote a biography of Mr. Feeney, said, he read and was very impressed by Carnegie's famous essay, Wealth, which says such things as, "To die rich is to die disgraced." Despite his immense contributions, Feeney operated largely in anonymity for decades.
He explained to me that if we revealed who was providing the funding, it would cease.
He believed that philanthropy should speak for itself and that the focus should remain on the causes, not the donor. This selflessness was refreshing in an age where many wealthy individuals seek the limelight and recognition for their charitable efforts. Feeney's humility became a core of his character, as he rarely sought credit for the millions he was giving away. However, as Atlantic Philanthropies grew in influence, whispers about the man behind the mission began to circulate. In the early 2000s, the veil of anonymity slowly lifted, revealing Chuck Feeney as a revolutionary philanthropist. While many celebrated his commitment to philanthropy, others were skeptical of his methods. The establishment of the Centre for Public Inquiry in Ireland, intended to investigate government decisions, sparked controversy. Critics questioned its independence and the motivations behind its creation, saying that it might serve as a political tool. Feeney faced great scrutiny, particularly regarding his relationship with political figures. There were allegations that some members of the government saw his philanthropic efforts as a challenge to their authority. The notion that a private individual could exert such influence was unsettling to some, and the tensions that ensued were palpable. But Feeney remained steadfast in his commitment to truth and accountability, believing that investigative bodies could hold the powerful accountable. In response to mounting pressures, Minister for Justice Michael McDowell released documents to the press, alleging that Feeney's brother had traveled to Colombia under dubious circumstances. Even though the Director of Public Prosecutions found no evidence against him, the media frenzy intensified, placing Feeney and his organization under scrutiny. It was a painful chapter for Feeney, as he faced questions about credibility and integrity, issues he had spent his life advocating against. In the face of it all, Feeney's commitment to his philanthropic mission never wavered. He believed that the act of giving should be rooted in love and compassion, not tainted by scandal or public perception, and he continued to support projects that would ultimately change lives. As Atlantic Philanthropies approached its endowment deadline, Feeney made the bold decision to spend down his foundation by 2016. This meant committing to give away $1 million every day. He knew that the issues he cared about were pressing and that immediate action was necessary. Feeney often said, "The best time to give is now," and he lived by this mantra. Through his work, Feeney changed not just individual lives, but entire communities. He funded health initiatives that improved access to care, educational programs that provided opportunities for underprivileged youth, and human rights projects that advocated for marginalized populations. His influence extended beyond borders, reaching projects in countries around the world, from Vietnam to South Africa. As his philanthropic journey progressed, Chuck Feeney realized the importance of sharing his message. While he had always been a private person, he began to understand that his story could inspire others to embrace philanthropy. He collaborated on a biography, shedding light on his life and philosophy. In doing so, he hoped to encourage other wealthy individuals to consider their own roles in society and the responsibilities that come with great wealth. Chuck is teaching us to think big. He keeps telling us to try and think about how we can do something which is on a large scale and do something which is dramatic. Feeney
is teaching us to think big. He keeps telling us to try and think about how we can do something which is on a large scale and do something which is dramatic.
His belief that wealth should be used for the greater good challenges the status quo of philanthropy.
Chuck set a wonderful example. He stayed true to this total dedication to give everything away.
After dedicating his life to philanthropy, Feeney saw his net worth plummet from $8 billion to just $2 million by 2020, having donated 99% of his wealth to charitable causes. He passed away in 2023 peacefully in his modest two-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, where he lived with his wife. While we may not know his final thoughts, we do know that he devoted his life to his lifelong dream, to improve the human condition. Feeney's story is still an anomaly, especially in today's world, where conflicts persist, such as the ongoing tensions in Israel and Palestine, echoes of struggles faced in Northern Ireland during his lifetime. For Feeney, action spoke louder than words. He used his fortune to transform lives and promote peace, striving to turn swords into plowshares. Chuck's goodness is an eternal value, which is why his spirit lives on in the 273 fellows he inspired around the world. Goodness is contagious, and we are all better for having been touched by Chuck's legacy.